Before my video begins, I just want to shout out a video that means a lot to me. And that video is Leon Triforce's retrospective on Portal 1 and 2. When I saw his retrospective on the Half-Life series, I really hoped they made a video on Portal, because Portal 2 is my favorite game of all time, and why it has impacted the gaming industry so much. And when he put out the retrospective, I was screaming with joy. And when I was done watching the video, I honestly was moved to tears. So please check out his video and leave him some love. Now let's get back to the real video. Okay, I'm just going to speak some facts. When Portal was released back in 2007, it was universally loved. It was not a question that it needed a sequel. And now we have Portal 2, my and many others' favorite game. Now I will always love Portal 2's perfect level design, the genius humor, the story and the fun gameplay. But Portal 1 did something that Portal 2 and many games in the future will never top. And that was atmosphere. Something games need to focus more on. Of course, there are many games that have perfect atmosphere. Subnautica's atmosphere is filled with terror. Batman Arkham Asylum makes you feel like claustrophobic. But Portal has done something I never experienced before. A feeling that is rare in game. And that is utterly alone. Not only alone, worthless. Now how can I say this? And frankly, this game is primed with so many details that makes you feel this feeling. That making this script was so hard to make, because there's just so much to discover here. But I picked on some few, and those are colors, music, and GLADOS. Now let's begin. Why are colors important? Our brains are already built to know what we're looking at by noticing figures and patterns. For example, if I asked you to say what this picture is, you would know that this is a tree, this is grass, and this is the sky. So why are colors important? Well, if I show you the same picture again and ask you what this picture makes you feel, you wouldn't quite know. But putting color on the picture again, the picture gets a specific tone and a feeling. That's the reason why when you see the color red, it's often to explain the feeling of anger or evil in a piece of art. And the color green is often used to explain the feeling of disgust, and yellow is used to show the feeling of joy. You get the point. So why is Portal good at showing a great atmosphere? It's not because this game has a variety in colors, but rather the lack thereof. To really explain this, we need to go back to the start of the game. You wake up in the game. The first thing you see is that you're trapped in a little area, surrounded by white walls, not knowing what to do. You'll hear this voice.
Hello, and again, welcome to the Aperture Science Computer Aided Enrichment Center.
Already 30 seconds into this game, you already know what this is about. The white walls surrounding you makes you feel isolated, trapped and alone. Not only the walls are white, but also the cubes, turrets, your portal gun, even GLaDOS is white. And I don't think that's by fault. The color white is supposed to remind you of the Aperture Science. It's the color that haunts you wherever you go. They picked the color white to show the isolation of this area, you know, like a lunatic asylum. And it also gives you the shivers because the color reminds you of winter. That's also why when you escape from the fire and meet a completely different section with more red lighting and a lack of white walls and other things, it's more impactful. A small detail, but the only time you see the color green is in the ending, and that's by showing you're truly done this adventure. Also, since you haven't seen anything naturistic on your technological devices, it makes the ending stand out more to the player than just showing you a hooray at the end. In conclusion, colors is like the outside of a cake. The cake tastes very good, but the cake looks boring. It would be something memorable in your head. It's the same with a game. If the game doesn't look appetizing, even if the gameplay is fun, the characters are fun, the controls are fun, the game suffers. And color is just one way of making a game memorable. Let's talk about another factor. Now for the music part of this video, it was honestly really hard for me to write about, because there's just so much to talk about. I even scrapped a part of the script because I felt like I talked too much about it, but I decided to only talk about one song for this video, and this one being Self-Esteem Fund. Okay, so before I begin this part, I just want to say I studied in music now for a couple of years, so this is gonna be a bit meta, but stick with me. Now I don't want to talk to you guys like you're 5, but singular instruments doesn't play the notes over each other. Notes pass the ball to each other, because if they didn't, then it sounds messy. But here it's intentionally done here. The notes are overlapping over each other to actually sound unharmonic, but they don't only keep playing one note, they're actually repeating themselves. Before I talk about why Kevin Bailey did this, we need to quickly talk about leitmotifs. Leitmotif is not just a theme for a character like Superman or Indiana Jones, but rather articulate a theme across for a place, time, character, object, or something else. An easy example for a leitmotif is, for example, Marcus's theme in Detroit Become Human. His theme symbolizes the hope his movement is trying to accomplish. So why did Kevin Bailey do this? Well, let's think about the objective in the game. Doing 20 tests and killing GLADOS. Now this is just a theory, a music theory, but I think the repetitive nature of this song tries to symbolize the nature of going through this game, the unsettling vibe the test chambers give you, the haunting remark GLADOS gives you. It tries to show the feeling of Aperture Science. You can say it's Aperture Science leitmotifs. So when you hear this track, it reminds you that you're truly not out of this facility, it is everywhere you go. It kinda reminds me of the leitmotif for Joker. Wherever he goes, this constant theme follows him, reminding him that he feels like a mistake, since the cellos play sometimes the wrong key. Also, having the notes playing crescendo both up and down is a good way of showing the echoing nature of Aperture Science, the unending test chambers, begging for it soon to be over. Remember when I mentioned the cake, and why colors play an impact on the overall appeal of the game? Music plays an important play in that part. Because music is something that can move a heartstring in some very important ways. Not having music is basically asking people to forget your piece of art. Of course, some games don't have any music, and they use that to their advantage. But Valve knew the impact on a good piece of soundtrack, and they absolutely smashed it. Now I want to get to my favorite example in creating a great atmosphere.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success.
To truly emulate feelings like abandonment and worthlessness, I have never seen anything like what they did when they created GLaDOS. Remember when I mentioned at the beginning of the game, the feeling of abandonment because of the lack of colors? Well, that's why when you first hear GLaDOS, you sort of have an attachment to her. But why? Because you have no one else to turn to. But it becomes very soon you realize she is not a friend. From lying to us over and over, to the smug remarks she makes of us, she began to be an annoyance. But this becomes more than just annoyance when you meet the Companion Cube. The Companion Cube is a gift GLaDOS gives you for you to grow an attachment to. Because of this place, because of what GLaDOS has said to us, because of the music, you the player, feel an attachment to the cube. But again, why? Well, we know that GLaDOS is not a friend because of what she has said to us. But the Companion Cube has not that ability to harm us. She helps us. Her goal is to helping us through this place. But that's why, when GLaDOS tasked us to burn the cube, it honestly hurt. GLaDOS wasn't anymore not my friend. She was my villain. Our objective changed from escaping this facility to killing GLaDOS. But not only was she my enemy, she became a genuine threat. But why? Because you may stumble upon some few places that have drawings all over the place, talking about the fact that GLaDOS may have lied everything to us. She's watching us. This is where again the feeling of worthlessness began to seep in. And that was because I couldn't do anything. GLaDOS controlled everything. I was the puppet and she was the master. First time playing this game and seeing those sections began to get scary. And it still is. Up to when you escape, no one could save you from GLaDOS. You were truly alone. I want to talk about the third act of the game so bad. The atmosphere changing from worthlessness to full fulfillment and genuine joy, knowing you're taking down the thing that has treated you the worst. But I didn't want to make the video too long, so I focused on the part that was the most surprising. You may ask one question: why is this game so good at making an atmosphere that it should be used for example when making other games? And that's because it keeps building on the already existing theme of the game. If they just kept relying on GLaDOS making jokes about you for selling the atmosphere at worthlessness, it'll be quite stale. So they kept building on that idea, and now we have this, a game filled with color, music, and dialogue. Some might think what made Portal so special was the gameplay, or because Valve made one of the best villains, the great storyline, the puzzles, but Portal will always stand out for me in the wonderful atmosphere. And I think this means so much to me because when I was younger, the most I played was Super Mario, and I love me some Super Mario, but when my brother showed me this game, I was truly surprised, and when I was done playing, I knew that this is where gaming should go. No matter how much more games come, no matter how much new stuff we get in the future VR, and no matter if Valve do Half-Life 3, this will always be one of my favorite games of all time. Next to Paper Mario sticker stuff, of course.